Hello, lovely people, and welcome to my channel. My name is Stephanie, and this is Evolved Chit. It's my little corner of the world where I like to talk about spirituality, metaphysical stuff, universal laws, and psychology. So in this video, I'm going to talk about twin flames and attachment style theory, and how you can use this information to help you understand your inner world and where it may be keeping you out of alignment with your highest self, your greatest self. And how this twin flame experience, how you can use what is being triggered in you or whatever's coming up in this relationship or any relationship that you have, how you can use this knowledge to help you cut through the BS and the low vibrational stuff and really step into your power. I'm very excited to talk about this topic today. But first, before I jump in, if you are new here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. It is lovely to have you. And just a reminder to visit my website, evolvedchit.com, and go to the Get Started page. So I am excited to share with you that I have a new ebook. So I've taken, created a new version of the Mindset Reset. So it's free. You can download that right away and get started on developing your self-concept, getting clear on who you are, what you want to experience in your life, and some tips and tools on how you can continue to balance your energy and magnetize in your best life. And as they say, as we do that, we magnetize in our twin flame. So you can use this as your own little social science experiment. And that is the best way to get started in balancing your energy, is by getting clear on who you are. So check out the free ebook. You can download it right now. And I'd love to hear from you and how you're applying it in your life and what you may be experiencing. So as always, if you have questions, drop them in the comments of my videos, and I'd love to hear from you. And new content on my blog, really excited, a new article about numerology and astrology and recurring number patterns. Check out that information. It's the stuff I talk about in my other videos. So there's an article there, all the tips and tricks and the resources that I use, I link to on my website. So Decoding Twin Flames. And I have other articles out there too that are recent about attachment style theory, which is the topic I'm about to get into, and also practicing self-inquiry and more about core wound activation and how you can heal it. So check those out as well. And if you're interested in coaching or need some extra support, I would love to talk to you. So check out the services page and learn more about my coaching sessions. Okay, so now on to today's topic. So in my last video, I tackled the tough topic of, are we crazy for believing in twin flames? And spoiler alert, I don't think we're crazy. But I do think we're crazy if we don't act upon this newly found wisdom that we have and knowledge and greater self-awareness. So at this point, hopefully you're realizing that this dynamic with your twin flame isn't necessarily just about finding the one. It's a mirror of our inner world, and it's reflecting our deepest wounds, fears, patterns, beliefs, and a huge part of that reflection is our attachment style. So in the Twin Flames community, there is a lot of talk about divine connection, and that this Twin Flames dynamic is a divine connection. But the most important part of this aspect, I believe, is it is intended to trigger us like no other relationship may have ever. And why is that? I don't know. I mean, is it a divine connection? Is it a soul contract? If we look at the foundation of like the twin flames theory, that we are a shared soul or shared energy, then perhaps that is true, that they are mirroring at us things that are keeping us in lower vibrational states and not vibrating at our optimal frequency. So, but what's really happening in addition to that is they are activating our attachment wounds. They're activating that core wound or core wounds. I think I have more than one. I don't know if anyone else does. I'd love to hear from you about what you think your core wound is or core wounds, and if there's anything that you're doing to soothe and heal that. So I believe that that this isn't necessarily random, and that it's intended to help us heal and grow. And especially, you probably can relate to that because this relationship, this connection, it may feel a little bit harder to let go of than perhaps others that you've been involved in. So what can we learn about attachment style, and how can it help us on our twin flames journey and on our spiritual journey? So first, attachment style theory, it explains how we form emotional bonds based on childhood experiences, things that happen to us during our formative years. And in the twin flame dynamics, these attachment patterns are amplified and they're bringing up unresolved wounds to the surface. And the twin flame connection, as I said, isn't necessarily about a romantic fantasy or the knight in shining armor. It really is about our spiritual evolution. It's intended to help us transcend the lower vibrational BS and continue on our path to ascension as a soul. So if you've ever wondered why the twin flame connection or the relationship that you're thinking about right now, if you've wondered why that often involves that push-pull energy, or you may know it as that runner-chaser dynamic, that's the attachment style theory in action. So to learn more about attachment style theory and take a free quiz to learn more about your attachment style, I recommend going to the Personal Development School. It's a free quiz, it's really quick, and I found it to be very effective. I have taken it dozens of times just to test it, to help other people with it, to help clients, friends, whoever. I've brought it up at a bar, So you want to do the attachment style quiz first. So I recommend the Personal Development Schools. And a couple things to consider if you haven't done this already. You've got to be honest with yourself. Like, you cannot bullshit yourself anymore. Really need to look at yourself honestly. And this may take a couple of times or more than a couple of times over a couple of days or weeks or months. I still take it, and I happened upon this stuff a few years ago. So take that quiz, learn more about, like how your inner narrative and your inner world is operating based on that attachment style, and reflect on the information I'm about to share and see if any of that resonates with you. So the link to the attachment style quiz will be in the description and the pinned comment, and it's the one from the Personal Development School, so be sure to check that out. Okay, so there are a few attachment styles, and one is anxious attachment. So if you have an anxious attachment style, your twin flame journey may feel incredibly overwhelming. And it may mean that you need a lot of reassurance. You may be constantly pining, longing, and waiting for this person. And a couple things that I have found with those I've talked to who have this attachment style, they have said that they are constantly looking at message exchanges with this person, with their twin flame. They maybe still have access to that person's social media and looking at their social posts all the time, or just reminiscing, reflecting, romanticizing in their minds, and just the constant longing. And so here are some emotional indicators that you may have an anxious attachment style, and especially, as it relates to your twin flame. So you may feel deeply connected to this person, but you are really afraid of being abandoned. Maybe you're afraid that they're with the karmic, or they're off screwing around or doing this or doing that, or over analyzing every relationship or every move or anything like that. So you're afraid that anything is going to push them away. And you may also be someone who is hyper focused on synchronicities like 1111 and other angel numbers, or just other signs or symbols, and you see those as a form of validation. And I think in some respects, like a little bit of that can be healthy. It's fun. It's kind of ironic when when you're doing something and all of a sudden it's like 1111, or I'll see my twin flame's birthday or something like that. So but if you're someone who's really relying upon that to validate what you're doing, or that you're on the right track, that's another sign of anxious attachment. And also, as it relates to feeling out of control, or wanting greater control, you may be likely to put other people on a pedestal, especially your twin flame. So doing this and putting other people's needs before your own could be indication that you have the anxious attachment style too. So what can you do about that? Well, one thing is you can shift from seeking external validation and stay focused on things that can help soothe your inner world and help soothe your anxiety. So you want to do some grounding exercises or practices. So something that may be helpful are affirmations. Sometimes when there's an anxious attachment style, your mind might be racing, or constantly thinking or coming up with new stories. So how do you replace that narrative? Maybe you use affirmations or guided meditations. Maybe you're listening to binaural beats or other soothing things, or interesting podcasts that are helping you accelerate and do things that are important to you in your life. And of course, the most important thing, I believe, is practicing self-care. And self-care is really everything. So identifying, what you need to be able to function and nourish and nurture yourself is so important. And self-care and self-love rituals really do help. So when you're looking for that external validation, what can you do to find that within yourself and not be looking for it from someone else? Now, another attachment style is the avoidant attachment style. And avoidant attachment types, they usually show up as the runner, surprise, in the twin flame dynamic. But that's not necessarily always the case. There is another attachment style that may also be the runner and a little bit of the chaser. But if you lean towards avoidant, kind of like the anxious attachment, you crave the connection, but you struggle with being vulnerable with others. And I found with the people that I've talked to since I've been doing coaching and everything and applying attachment style theory information, I found that the people who have some heavy avoidant attachment style tendencies, it's as if they never really had someone that they could trust in their lives. So when someone is showing them love or interest, there is a tendency to want to run away. It hurts to be loved. It hurts to love. That's almost the mindset. And this is, my twin flame is like this. And he and I have actually talked about that very language. So you may crave the connection, but you struggle with being vulnerable. And here are some emotional indicators that you may be an avoidant attachment style, or your twin flame may be. So again, craving the connection, but pulling away when things are getting too intense because there's that fear of vulnerability. Wanting to be in control, just like the anxious, but focusing on keeping things more logical rather than emotional, and avoiding, that surrender into what could be. And that could be just about anything. It could be surrendering to a loving relationship, spiritual surrender, continuing to let go of things that no longer serve you, and transcending that and alchemizing the lower vibrational stuff. So sometimes, even though it's painful, staying in the lower vibrational places, it's a known quantity and we don't want to let it go. Also, that leads towards, struggling to trust the process, or believe in, what they call divine timing. Or as my mom would say, que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. So, so struggling to trust that process because, again, not really having someone in their childhood experiences or formative years that they could really trust, and impacting and affecting the way in which they love and they accept love. So what can you do about that? Well, you can lean into trusting yourself more and finding ways in which you can trust others. And how can you do that? So a couple things that come to mind are doing things that are heart-centered, like heart-centered activities. If these are your creative pursuits, your passion projects, maybe it's volunteering or some sort of artistic endeavor, or getting involved in your community some way, it allows you to do more heart-centered activities that are opening you up to new connections and new possibilities. And that can help you learn how to trust not just others, but yourself. So another thing that you can do here too is practicing self-inquiry. So a couple things here to think about if you're feeling that you're pulling away, that's an opportunity to question yourself. Like, well, why am I pulling away from this situation? And asking yourself those questions about what is it about this situation that makes me feel uncomfortably vulnerable? What is it about this situation that feels too intense? Why am I uncomfortable expressing myself? So you can use this approach for all of the attachment styles, but just giving this as an example for the avoidant attachment. One thing that I was thinking about when I sometimes would have a bit of the runner dynamic show up in me with my twin flame early on. And one of the things that I would do is I would actually look in my bathroom mirror, like maybe like if I was feeling stressed about it, getting ready for the day or something, or whatever I was doing, I would look in the mirror or even on my phone in the camera, I'd be like, what are you afraid of? What are you resisting? And just allowing myself to look myself in the eye and ask those questions. So it might sound a little cheesy, but I feel like when you're looking at yourself in the eye, you've got to be honest with yourself. So that's something else to consider in all these attachment styles. Like, how can you practice some of those self-inquiry techniques, but trying them out in different ways? So maybe writing down self-inquiry notes in a notebook or a digital journal or your notepad on your phone or whatever it might be. Maybe you want to record it. Or you can even just go and look in the camera on your phone or mirror on your phone or the mirror on your wall and, dig into what's keeping you in low vibrational states. And then there's the disorganized attachment style, or also you may know it as fearful avoidant. So if you resonate with both the anxious and the avoidant attachment style traits, then you may have this attachment style, the disorganized or fearful avoidant attachment style. So this creates an intense runner-chaser dynamic within yourself. So it's not just the one that you're feeling with your twin flame. And as I mentioned, although there are times that I had a lot of anxiety with my twin flame, when I have gone back and reflected upon this and taken the attachment style quiz and looking at my notes, I would say that I probably lean more towards a fearful avoidant attachment. And just, coming from this place of my own personal experience where, I really wanted to be with him when I was in that state, when I was in the runner state. And at the same time, though, I was incredibly afraid of intimacy, getting close, afraid of being hurt again. So maybe if you relate to this, that you may have a fearful avoidant or disorganized attachment style. So maybe you're obsessed with your twin flame, or you really have just this strong inclination to be with this person, but at the same time you are scared shitless of what this relationship would be or what it may do to you. And that just, further equates into just really wanting this and really wanting this twin flames theory to be a thing, but at the same time afraid of it or, doubting it. And even experiencing maybe some extreme highs and lows emotionally. So maybe one day you're just feeling so connected and tapped in and you understand it. And then the next you're questioning everything, or you're just like, this is insanity. This isn't even a thing. So if any of those emotional indicators resonate with you, then maybe you're a fearful avoidant attachment style. So how do you balance that? And with this attachment styles, you can imagine that scale can be tipping one way or the other towards anxious or avoidant. So really it's about finding some balance. And so stability is really the key with this. And this is where those exercises like self-inquiry and other things that can help you regulate your nervous system. I was speaking with a client recently who resonates with the fearful avoidant attachment style, and she's a very big fan of EFT, the tapping technique. So something like that could be a consideration. maybe practicing yoga or other like physical movement that really has you more mindful than pumping iron or doing some hardcore cardio, or maybe it is doing those things. So choose activities that work for you, that can help you regulate your nervous system. And one of the things that's really important with this attachment style is consistency. That consistency is, I think, key for all of these, but especially for this attachment style, because there tends to be some extremes. And having that consistency in your spiritual practice. I do this. I have an appointment with myself for everything on my phone, and it must be neurotic and crazy, but it's what helps me stay on track. Otherwise, it is really easy to get distracted with life, work, relationships, all of it. So make those appointments with yourself. Like, I have it right down to the T. I get up at a certain time of the day. During this time, I meditate. During this time is my workout. During this time, I'm doing this. During the week, this is the time that I'm working. I have my evening commitments and things like that. It helps me create balance and consistency in my life, because I tend to overcommit. So I need to keep a schedule for myself. So those are just some things to better understand the attachment styles and some emotional indicators that can give you some clues if you might be one of those attachments. And I mean, I believe all of us has like some sort of attachment style, and if you're lucky, maybe you have a secure attachment style. So how do you move towards a more secure attachment style? So, maybe you're far enough along on your twin flames journey now that you're realizing that this just isn't about a person. This isn't about this other person. It's really about healing yourself. And you may also be realizing too that your twin flame is not your hero, not your savior. You're that. They're your mirror. They're your mirror soul. And so what they're trying to do is help you see where you may be out of alignment with your higher self, with your best self, operating at like an optimal frequency. And in that respect, it means helping you get to a more secure attachment style within yourself. So what are some things that you can do to get you to a more secure attachment style? So pretty much everything that I've mentioned for these attachment styles, but there's one thing I do want to add. So, practicing self-inquiry and practicing that inner alchemy. It's energy. You can dispel that energy. Whatever you need to do for yourself, you need to wave a magic wand. You want to go plant a seed whenever you, deal with something, like whatever is the symbolism for you to realize that this is just your inner narrative, and it is derived from your, beliefs and your behavior patterns and your thoughts, your attachment style. That's what's shaping all of this. So just as you can think things that are lower vibration, you can just as easily think things that have you in a higher vibration. So one thing to think about when you're being triggered by your twin flame, and this is something that I did, and it was really helpful for me, and that is when I would feel that anxiety, when I would feel that inner narrative starting to ratchet up, I would ask myself, like, is this productive? Am I projecting my core wound onto my twin flame? Or am I using this to grow? And I've shared this before. That's when I was asking myself questions like that, I would see how, like, this is not being productive. So how do I make it productive? And questions like this can help you make it productive. So how do you practice the self-inquiry, asking yourself some simple questions? Is this productive? Am I projecting my wounds onto my twin flame? Or am I using this connection to learn more about myself and evolve and grow and transcend my bullshit? So think about that the next time that you're stressed, and what answer are you giving yourself, and how do you move forward into having a little more compassion and empathy for this situation? Because what your twin flame is bridging the gap between where you are now and your optimal self, your higher self. So that's something to think about in terms of, getting to that secure attachment style. Because when you start to focus on yourself that's when everything starts to change. The way in which you magnetize things in, the speed in which you magnetize things in, it's really mind-blowing when you realize how much that inner world, that anxiety is creating like a need for control, and that's a push energy, and that can push things away. The avoidant attachment style, still that need to control because an inability to trust has us pulling away. And so it's really interesting when you learn how to create this inner balance, how things start to show up for you, and more in alignment with what it is that you desire. And in addition, as I mentioned previously, things that you can do to regulate your nervous system. So, those twin flame triggers, they are real. And I know I've felt them too. And they can be really intense and confusing and just have you all over the place. So, it's because your attachment wounds have been activated. Your core wound has been activated. So your nervous system is going to need some support during all of this. So again, this is where you may want to find activities, different practices that you can use to help you balance your energy. So, and help you regulate your nervous system. So things like practicing breath work, pranayama, and other types of movement that can, like Tai Chi, yoga, Pilates, things that may be more deliberate, even walking meditation. I know some communities sometimes have like little walking tracks or things like that. Maybe you live in a nice neighborhood where you like to walk around the neighborhood and just kind of get back into your body. It helps you regulate your nervous system. So techniques like that can be really helpful. And also, other grounding techniques that you can do too. So even things like taking off your shoes, if you got a nice yard and you want to go walk barefoot in the grass. So of course, just make sure you're doing it in a safe way and there's nothing there to hurt the bottoms, of your feet. But these types of activities can really help get you back to center and reduce the number of times in which you're having, these episodes with anxiety and avoidance. And one that I really love, and this is the extra one, I didn't mention this before, but developing your self-concept is absolutely crucial in all of this. If anything, I feel like it's like the first thing you need to do. And our self-concept is always going to be evolving. It's I kind of look at my stuff like very often. So I'm always looking at, where I'm at in contrast to who I am, because sometimes we get on the hamster wheel, life gets hectic and we get caught up in it and we settle for things, or we're not nourishing ourselves enough or nurturing ourselves enough. So really examining your self-concept and your self-care routine is on a regular basis is very important. And even like if you use Sunday as like, the night before the beginning of a fresh week, let's just say, maybe Sunday is not just about, prepping for the week in terms of like meal prep or doing your laundry or whatever. Maybe it really is, it's practicing that intention. So that's something that I do on Sundays. I try to keep my Sundays pretty low key and not a lot of commitments, because I want to pour back into myself and really allow myself to relax. So incorporating even something as simple as that into your routine to help you ease into the week more mindfully, with kind of a vision in mind of how you see the week going. So that's something to consider as well. And with that, one thing you can consider as you're developing your self-concept is examining your core beliefs. And this is really important. Actually, I started working on an ebook for this a while back, and I hope to finish it soon. I have a few ebooks that I want to get out there to you guys, but this one really is about like, how do you stop your shitty thinking? And when you're rewriting your core beliefs, you can, listen to that inner dialogue and see what it's saying. So if you're believing that you're unworthy of love unless you're with your twin flame, you can see that that's like, your core wound. It's not a truth. You're absolutely lovable. So one thing that you can do is rewire that belief. So you can flip that and say, I am already whole. And, if you want to take it a little bit further, love flows to me effortlessly. So you can use affirmations like that as well. So not just in rewriting your core beliefs around love and acceptance and value and worth and abundance, you can flip them and make them your affirmations too. So I hope this was helpful. As I mentioned previously, I do have an article on my website on the blog about attachment style theory and the spiritual journey and the twin flames dynamic. So check that out. It's pretty detailed and succinct in the inspiration for this recording. So I'd love to hear from you and what you think and what's your attachment style. Did it resonate with you? Do you think your twin flame is an avoidant? Is your twin flame anxious or a fearful avoidant? I'd love to hear from you and learn more about what your attachment style is too. So, in closing, I feel like this whole experience has been truly a gift, even though at times it's hard to say that. And it's probably hard to hear that too, but it really isn't about just being in a relationship with someone. It's really about the relationship within yourself and with yourself. So when you're healing your attachment wounds, you're not just, attracting a healthy relationship, you're stepping into your divine power. So something to think about is, how does your attachment style shape your twin flame journey and spiritual path? So this is just a reminder that you are loved, you are amazing, you are awesome, you are necessary, and you are really freaking needed right now. So step into your power. And until next time, I'm sending you lots of love and good vibes for your journey.